Peter. I'm super happy to be here with you guys in Vienna. So for those of you who are not familiar with Tempo, we have been developing Jira add-ons for quite some time. And currently, these three products are in our product suite for the Atlassian ecosystem. We have Tempo Planner, Tempo Timesheets, and Tempo Budgets. So for quite some time, each and every one of these products was developed and maintained by a separate team. And unfortunately, we did not put too much effort into building a unified look and feel across any of these products. Our customers were even complaining about it. So we wanted to do something about this, and finally we got the opportunity in 2016 when we at Tempo decided to move Tempo to the cloud. Now, this was a massive undertaking as we had to completely rewrite almost everything in the product. But all rewrites are very exciting for front-end developers because we finally get to rewrite old legacy features in the tech stack we wanted. So we could say goodbye to Backbone, Velocity templates, and jQuery, and instead rewrite everything in the technology we loved, which was React. It actually felt like Christmas in a sense. It was a very enjoyable, yet equally stressful period, because we had a pretty hard deadline on finishing this rewrite of Tempo for the cloud. And as the deadline grew nearer and nearer, more and more developers joined the project. And finally, all developers in Tempo, both Icelandic office and the Canadian office, joined forces to work on this project. At this time, we didn't really have a good front-end strategy apart, hey, let's use React and Redux. So what happened sometimes was that because we were moving so fast and new developers were joining the project on a weekly basis, sometimes it happened that a developer would have to implement some feature with a UI component like a button or a popover, and this developer would just use some random library to help him with implementing this feature, or even just rewrite it from scratch. We were not making anything reusable at all. At one point, we even had this weird mix of homemade components, some AUI, some Bootstrap, and then 4 other random libraries thrown in the mix, scattered all over our code base. And this was not only slowing us down, but it was also moving us further away from providing with this unified look and feel across all of our products. And I know what you're thinking. This sounds like bad engineering, and I completely agree. So we decided to do something about this. And we decided we need one UI kit. And at that moment, we chose Bootstrap. Note that this was an important step in our journey towards finally building our own UI kit, because after this decision, we could see the huge benefits of using one robust UI kit across our code base. We finally managed to move very fast, and all of our views and features had the same look and feel. Our developers also felt more confident, because most of them were not too good at writing CSS or styling the UI, and now we finally had a UI kit that did most of the heavy lifting for them. You might be wondering why on earth we chose Bootstrap over AUI or the AtlasKit. Now, in 2016, the AtlasKit was still in its early stage, and it wasn't as mature as it is right now. And AUI, we felt it didn't sync well with our React-based tech stack. So that's why we went with Bootstrap. And we finally finished rewriting Tempo for the cloud in 2017. Everything in the front end was written in React, Redux, and Bootstrap. And the next steps for us at the company was to take this basically new Tempo and replace the old server products with it. And our approach to this was to have the same code base for cloud and server. And in the perfect world, that meant that you could implement a feature for the cloud and you would get it for free on server. However, that's not always the case. But after we did this and we started using this new product, this new code base on server, we noticed some problems. And our excessive use of Bootstrap was causing many problems because the Bootstrap CSS just bleeds everywhere. On cloud, that's not a problem because we're isolated in an iframe, but on server, it was just destroying things outside of tempo even. We had bug reports that it was doing something weird with the Jira top header navigation. But the biggest downside of using Bootstrap in your application is that your application looks like a Bootstrap application, which is not good. So our designers wanted to do something about that. So they started work on the Tempo design language. We wanted to establish a clear visual identity for Tempo across all our products and integrations. And more importantly, we wanted to be fully in control of how Tempo should look and feel like, instead of being too dependent on some external library. So this design language covered designs and UX for almost all basic UI components you could think of. Buttons, inputs, popovers, dialogues, date pickers, even the color palette and grid system. And then in the future, all features in Tempo would be designed using these components from the design language. It didn't matter if this feature was for Tempo on server, or Tempo on Jira Cloud, or standalone Tempo, or Tempo for Trello, or Tempo for Zendesk, or whatever we would think of in the future. It will always consist of components from this design language. The idea was that the front-end developers of the company would then build our own Tempo UI kit, full of components which followed the designs in the Tempo design language. We couldn't wait to start implementing it, so we could phase out Bootstrap and use our own UI kit instead. And one very important step in this process was the forming of the UI discipline. That's a group of all front-end developers at Tempo where we can align on best practices, libraries, frameworks, and the overall strategy for front-end development at the company. We were finally ready to build our own UI kit. But how do you really do that? We had never done anything like that before, and it's actually pretty complicated. And there are big decisions to be made in the beginning. One of the most important things is to work closely with the designers, gain access to their sketch files, align with them on how the UI components should behave, and share their vision of what you want to be able to do in the future. Then you have to align on the requirements. Who is going to use this kit? Is it only going to be for in-house developers, or do you want it to be open source? What level of documentation is needed for the components, and how complex should the components in the kit be? Should it be just very lightweight, reusable components like buttons and drop-downs? Or should you have something more complex, like a reusable reporting component? This needs to be aligned on. But most importantly, you need to align on the technology to be used to implement the UI kit. Here, we at Tempo made a crucial mistake, which ended up costing us a lot of time. So we did not align on the technology. We had two different ideas thrown around. The first one was to implement it only using React and styled components, very similar to what the AtlasKit is doing. The other idea was to implement it using pure JavaScript and CSS. The reasoning behind that was that if we implemented it using pure JavaScript and CSS, we would restrict the consumer of the kit to be only using React. Now, we made this horrible decision of doing a hybrid, where we would have this one vanilla kit written in pure CSS and pure JavaScript. Then we would create a React kit, which was kind of like a wrapper around that, and then we could use that inside our product code. Don't do this. What happened was that if you wanted to contribute to the kit or add something new, you would first have to implement it in the vanilla kit. Then you would have to re-implement it almost from scratch in the React kit, because some things are just fundamentally different if you're writing it in pure JavaScript or React, like popovers. It's just the code is never going to be the same. So this caused a lot of frustration, and it was just slowing us down, if anything. And after months of this, we finally scrapped the vanilla kit, and we only have one React UI kit, and we're super happy with it, and we wish we had just gone with that from the get-go. So these are the technologies and tools we use to build our Tempo UI kit. We use Storybook for interactive documentation. We use Jest for testing and Bitbucket pipelines to host the repo. The most important library we use is Style Components. It's an amazing library for React. It allows you to write CSS directly into your components in a nice way, and it prevents your CSS code from bleeding outside of that component. It also provides great support for theming. So if you want to do something like a dark theme or something like that, Style Components can help you a lot with that. Then we have other tools such as Lerna for package management, and it also helps us to automatically generate changelogs with commit messages. And then we have Husky and Prettier and Easlin. So here you can see the Tempo UI kit's storybook. This is the button component. Over there is the code for this component, and at the bottom are the prop types. You can see what types each property is, what default value is behind it. Then Storybook provides you with this very nice way to interact with the component and see what happens when you change the properties. You can see how the component itself changes, but also how the code changes as well. We have more complex components in the kit, such as the dropdown. And we have currently, I think, over 25 components, more coming every month, actually. The most complex component in the UI kit is the date range picker. So at Tempo, we are using dates a lot because we're tracking time. So we created this component here, which is full of complex CSS and animations. It allows you to choose start and end dates, and also has some quick selections like current week, current month, last week, next week, whatever. It's really robust, and it's the most complex component currently in the kit. And finally, you can see the changelogs. These are automatically generated, so it's super useful. If some team is using a very old version of a component, it can go through the changelogs before updating its version dependency. It's really nice. Now here you can see the Tempo reports in Jira for Cloud. It is loaded with components from the UI kit. You here have the popover, some checkboxes, buttons, whatever, and over there is the date range picker. So we could just very fastly use it, import it from the kit, and use it right away here. Not only that, but when a relatively new team in Canada started work on a new Tempo product for Zendesk, they moved super fast because they could just use it directly from the UI kit. So there it is. Now some best practices. You should be very mindful of which components should be part of this UI kit. You should focus on lightweight, reusable components, and don't add overly complex components with too much business logic in it, like some complicated charts or a reporting component, because in our experience, it will be super hard to maintain it in the long run. Then if somebody comes across a bug in the UI kit component, don't try to fix it in your current codebase. You should fix the bug inside the UI kit. On that note, encourage your coworkers to contribute to the kit. They might learn something new, as it is a very different environment than from what you may be used to working on. It's also just a nice change of pace to be working in an isolated UI kit instead of your product codebase. And last but not least, construct the APIs for the UI kit very carefully, as this will be one of the most important APIs at the company. So, very quick summary of the do's and don'ts. I want to highlight the make it visible in-house. So we at Tempo, we deploy this storybook I showed you earlier. We deploy it internally, so all employees of the company can access it and see what is already there, what already has been implemented, and what they can use to build their products. Super useful. Also, yeah, don't do 2 UI kits. Don't do that. But why should you spend all this time and effort into creating your own UI kit when there are already great, robust UI kits out there like the AtlasKit? I think this is probably the most difficult question to answer, and it kind of depends on the size and capacity and even the vision of your company. Maybe your company has no need to establish its own visual identity, or maybe your company is relatively small and you are only creating add-ons in the Atlassian ecosystem. Then I think you're probably better off by just using the AtlasKit. It's a robust, fantastic UI kit with many components that are super great. They also have a relatively big team working on it, maintaining it. So I think you would save a lot of time by just using that instead of building your own. But as mentioned earlier, we at Tempo had many reasons to build our own UI kit from the ground up, and we are super happy with it. Our developers are moving faster than ever before, with more confidence. And another benefit of this is also that because you are isolating most of your reusable UI components in your own kit, you can very easily evolve your look and feel as need be. So for example, if your design team gets this wacky idea of all buttons across all of your views should be purple, then you just have to change it in the UI kit and roll out a new release, and voila, all of your buttons are purple. But the biggest benefit is, of course, that you have complete control of how your product should look and feel like, and you're not depending on any external dependency. Thank you very much.